In 13th century Europe, during a period of religious and intellectual ferment, an extraordinary story unfolded, giving rise to one of the most significant feasts in the Christian calendar. The year was 1263, and the setting was a Europe filled with diverse beliefs and varied religious practices. In this context, a priest named Peter of Prague faced a profound crisis of faith, questioning the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Tormented by doubts, Peter decided to undertake a pilgrimage to Rome, seeking answers and spiritual renewal. During his journey, he made a stop in the small town of Bolsena, known for its devotion to Saint Christina, a young martyr whose story of unwavering faith had inspired generations of the faithful. The story of Saint Christina. In the turbulent setting of the 3rd century, amidst the persecutions that afflicted the Christians of the Roman Empire, the luminous figure of Saint Christina emerged. Born in Tyro, a city in Tuscany that no longer exists, Christina was the daughter of Urban, pagan noble and local governor. Her youth, which should have been marked by privilege and comfort, became the stage for an epic clash between ardent faith and the deeply rooted traditions of her time. From a tender age, Christina felt inexplicably drawn to the teachings of Christ, an attraction that defied the logic of her upbringing in a profoundly pagan environment. In secret, she began to explore the Christian faith, finding in it a truth that resonated deeply within her soul. This clandestine spiritual quest soon transformed into an unshakable conviction, leading her to make a decision that would not only change her life, but also become a symbol of courage for future generations. In an act of extraordinary boldness, blending religious devotion and social conscience, Christina decided to directly confront the symbols of paganism that permeated her home. Taking advantage of a moment of her father's absence, she entered the domestic sanctuary where the golden and silver idols were kept. With fierce determination, Christina shattered the statues, not out of simple iconoclasm, but with a higher purpose. Gathering the precious fragments, she distributed them among the poor and needy of the city, thus transforming symbols of a faith she rejected into instruments of Christian charity. This action, motivated by ardent faith and a keen sense of social justice, did not go unnoticed. When Urban returned and discovered what his daughter had done, his fury knew no bounds. The conflict that ensued was not merely between father and daughter, but between two worlds. The old pagan order and the new faith was gradually transforming the empire. The martyrdom of Christina, which followed this initial confrontation, is a tale of almost unimaginable brutality contrasted with a supernatural resistance that defied the laws of nature. The attempts at execution, each more cruel than the last, became a test not only of Christina's faith, but also of the limits of earthly power in the face of divine intervention. The episode of the lake is particularly emblematic. Bound to a heavy millstone, Christina was thrown into the deep waters, a fate that seemed inescapable. However, witnesses reported seeing angelic figures descending from the heavens, freeing her from her bonds and guiding her safely to the shore. This miraculous event not only saved Christina's life, but also served as a powerful testimony of divine protection, converting many of the spectators. The burning furnace, reminiscent of the biblical story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, became the setting for the next miracle. Thrown into the flames that should have consumed her, Christina emerged unscathed, her garments immaculate, and her skin showing no sign of burns. Fire, a symbol of the purifying power of the Holy Spirit, seemed to recognize in her a soul already refined by faith. The episode of the arrows adds an almost surreal element to the narrative of Christina's martyrdom. The arrows, shot with lethal intent, not only failed to hit their target, but as if guided by an invisible force, turned back against the archers themselves. This event not only demonstrated divine protection over Christina, but also vividly illustrated the biblical concept that those who persecute the righteous often fall victim to their own machinations. Finally, when all other methods failed, Christina faced the executioner's sword. In this final moment, she demonstrated a serenity and courage that moved even her executioners. With her decapitation, Christina sealed her testimony of faith, not only with words or actions, but with the supreme sacrifice of her life. The story of Saint Christina, with its elements of youthful courage, unwavering faith, and miraculous intervention, transcends the boundaries of a simple hagiographic narrative. It becomes a powerful archetype of the struggle between individual conscience and social pressures, between transformative faith and ossified tradition. Her legacy continues to inspire the faithful, not only as an example of martyrdom, but as a testament to the capacity of the human spirit to rise above the most adverse circumstances, guided by the light of faith. The Eucharistic miracle in Bolsena. Inspired by the story of Saint Christina, Peter decided to celebrate a Mass in the church dedicated to the martyr in Bolsena. It was during this celebration that an extraordinary event occurred that would forever change his life and the history of the church. At the moment of consecration, when Peter elevated the host, it began to bleed, staining the corporal, the liturgical cloth on the altar. Astonished and amazed, Peter watched as drops of blood fell onto the corporal, forming the image of a face that many believed to be Christ himself. The faithful present in the church witnessed the miracle, and the news spread rapidly throughout the city and beyond. This miraculous event not only rekindled Peter's faith, but also provoked a wave of devotion and theological questioning. Verification of the miracle. News of the Eucharistic miracle of Bolsena spread quickly, reverberating through the hills of Umbria until it reached the attentive ears of Pope Urban IV. The pontiff, known for his prudence and devotion, was in the neighboring city of Orvieto, just 20 kilometers away. The geographical proximity, combined with the spiritual magnitude of the event, demanded an immediate and decisive response from the highest authority of the Church. Recognizing the potential impact of this event on the faith of the faithful and the doctrine of the Church, Urban IV did not hesitate to order a meticulous and comprehensive investigation. With the gravity that the situation demanded, the Pope summoned some of the most brilliant and respected theologians of medieval Christendom. Among them were two figures who would become pillars of Catholic thought: St. Thomas Aquinas, the angelic doctor, whose work Summa Theologica would become fundamental to Christian philosophy, and St. Bonaventure, the seraphic doctor, recognized for his profound spirituality and vast theological knowledge. The papal entourage set out for Bolsena on a journey that, though short in distance, was laden with expectations and questions. Upon arriving in the small town on the shores of Lake Bolsena, the theologians embarked on a painstaking investigation that would extend for days. They walked the narrow stone streets, breathing the air filled with history and mystery, in search of every detail that could shed light on the extraordinary event. The process of verification was rigorous and multifaceted. The scholars interviewed dozens of witnesses, from the priest Peter of Prague, the unwitting protagonist of the miracle, to the faithful present in the church at the moment of the event. Each testimony was carefully recorded and analyzed, seeking consistencies and discrepancies in the narratives. The central point of the investigation, however, was the blood-stained corporal, physical evidence of the supposed miracle. Theologians examined the cloth meticulously, observing the nature and pattern of the stains, debating whether their origin could have a natural explanation or if, indeed, it indicated a supernatural intervention. Experts in fabrics and pigments were consulted, contributing their scientific perspectives to the analysis. Parallel to the physical examination of the evidence, the theologians engaged in deep theological debates. They discussed the implications of the event for the doctrine of transubstantiation, the dogma that asserts the real transformation of the bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ during the Eucharist. The discussions were heated, the arguments based on the scriptures, the writings of the Church Fathers, and the apostolic tradition. As the investigation progressed, a sense of reverence and awe took hold not only of the investigators but of the entire community of Bolsena. The small Italian town became, for those days, the epicenter of a profound reflection on the mysteries of faith, attracting pilgrims and the curious from throughout the region. After days of intense investigation and deliberation, theologians reached a unanimous conclusion: the miracle of Bolsena was authentic. They interpreted the event as a divine manifestation, tangible sign of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. This conclusion not only validated the experience of the priest Peter of Prague, but also powerfully reaffirmed the doctrine of transubstantiation, offering a visible and palpable testimony to one of the deepest mysteries of Catholic faith. The vision of Saint Juliana, Liege. While these events were unfolding in Bolsena and Orvieto, an Augustinian nun named Juliana of Liege, in present-day Belgium, had received years earlier a series of mystical visions. In these visions, Juliana saw the full moon with a dark stripe, which she interpreted as a sign that a feast was missing from the Church's liturgical calendar, a celebration dedicated specifically to the Blessed Sacrament. Juliana shared her visions with local ecclesiastical authorities, passionately arguing for the need for a feast that would honor the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Her pleas found support in some circles, but also encountered resistance. However, Juliana's visions and her devotion to the Eucharist planted a seed that would soon flourish in an unexpected manner. The institution of the Feast of Corpus Christi. Pope Urban IV, deeply impressed by the miracle of Bolsena and inspired by the visions of Saint Juliana, saw in these events a divine sign. On August 11, 1264, he issued the papal bull, Transituris et Mundo, officially instituting the Feast of Corpus Christi for the entire Universal Church. The new feast was established to be celebrated on the Thursday after the octave of Pentecost, a day specially chosen to commemorate the institution of the Eucharist by Jesus Christ at the Last Supper. Pope Urban IV commissioned St. Thomas Aquinas to compose the liturgical texts for the celebration, resulting in the magnificent hymn Lauda Sion, which is still sung in Corpus Christi celebrations around the world today. Construction of Orvieto Cathedral. To house the miraculously blood-stained corporal, Pope Urban IV ordered the construction of a magnificent cathedral in Orvieto. This grand edifice, begun in 1290, became one of the most impressive examples of Gothic and Romanesque architecture in Italy. Orvieto Cathedral, with its richly decorated facade and splendid interiors, was conceived as a monumental reliquary for the Corporal of Bolsena. A special chapel, known as the Chapel of the Corporal, was built to house the relic, which is displayed to the faithful on special occasions. The cathedral became an important center of pilgrimage, attracting the faithful from all over Europe to venerate the Eucharistic miracle and deepen their devotion to the Blessed Sacrament. The enduring significance of Corpus Christi. The Feast of Corpus Christi, whose genesis dates back to a profound crisis of faith, an extraordinary miracle, and captivating mystical visions, has become one of the most significant and beloved celebrations in the rich liturgical calendar of the Catholic Church. This festivity not only reaffirms the central dogma of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, it stands as a living monument to the unconditional love and supreme sacrifice of Jesus, touching the hearts of the faithful in a unique and profound manner. Over the tapestry of time, celebration of Corpus Christi has undergone a fascinating metamorphosis, embracing and incorporating a myriad of local traditions and singular cultural expressions in the four corners of the globe. The streets of countless cities and villages transform into sacred stages, where faith is manifested in forms as diverse as they are beautiful. In Latin America, for example, elaborate processions wind through streets adorned with multicolored carpets made of flowers, sawdust, and other ephemeral materials, creating true works of art beneath the feet of the Blessed Sacrament. In Southern Europe, entire cities come to a halt to witness and participate in public demonstrations of faith that date back centuries. In Portugal, the feast takes on unique contours with the tradition of flower carpet in cities like Ponte de Lima, where the streets become galleries of ephemeral art. In Spain, the celebration in Toledo is particularly notable, with its historic procession that includes the display of the imposing Custodia of Juan de Arce, a masterpiece of Renaissance goldsmithing. In Brazil, in addition to the street carpets, many cities stage reenactments of the Last Supper and other biblical events, blending devotion and artistic expression. The legacy of Corpus Christi transcends the merely ritual, continuing to be an inexhaustible source of inspiration and challenge for Christians in their spiritual journey. This feast invites the faithful to delve more deeply into the unfathomable mystery of the Eucharist, not merely as a dogma to be accepted, but as a living reality to to be experienced and lived. The rich and multifaceted history behind this celebration serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments of doubt and questioning, the light of faith can break through in unexpected and extraordinary ways. In an increasingly secularized and individualistic world, Corpus Christi remains a beacon of communion and transcendence. It reminds us that, the heart of the Christian faith, resides a God who desires not only to be worshipped from a distance, but to be present in a tangible and intimate manner in the lives of his children. The public processions, in particular, serve as a visible testimony to this divine presence in the world, challenging the dichotomy between the sacred and the profane. Moreover, Feast of Corpus Christi continues to evolve, adapting to contemporary realities without losing its essence. In many communities, the celebration has become an opportunity to address urgent social issues, such as hunger and injustice, reminding the faithful that Eucharistic devotion must necessarily translate into concrete action in service of the most needy.